This is my 1989 Range Rover Classic, which I am giving a full repaint with a paintbrush.
So the first thing to do was to finish prepping the Range Rover. I did this with the combination of wet and dry and with an electric sander too. I probably could have spent twice as long prepping the Range Rover. As we all know, the key to a good paint job is the prep. But I wasn't after a show-winning Range Rover, I just wanted to change the colour.
So some of the equipment I have purchased are paintbrushes, of course, and I've gone for Harris paintbrushes as they're super soft, and that is one of the important things when you're painting with this coach enamel paint, is you have to have soft paintbrushes. And I've also got some rollers, because on the bigger panels I might put the paint on with a roller, but the key is, from what I have watched and learnt, is these brushes, which are called finishing brushes, and these are what you drag very carefully along the paint to get that hopefully almost brush stroke free finish. Now this is the paint I'm using, which is Stir Well Before Use Lincoln Green, which, if we flip it around here, is a coach enamel paint, 1K synthetic enamel, which I have done a little bit of research into how you apply it. Now it actually looks blue at the minute, and that's because I have not stirred it well before use, but this is when I did stir it well about a week ago when I first got the paint, and that is pretty much the colour, hopefully, that the Range Rover will be. So this is the roof, and there's Gary. Give us a wave, Gary. Now the roof has quite a few dents in, but I'll be honest with you, I'm not too bothered because I'm not trying to make it mint, and because the Range Rover is super high, you won't really see the roof anyway. So I'm going to practice on the roof first and see what we think.
And just before we put the paint on, we give the roof a quick wipe over with a tack cloth.
So it's quite hard to film and paint, but for your benefit I am going to try. So obviously I'm slapping on. Oh, it's quite a stretch as well. The Range Rover roof is massive. I'm slapping on, not too thick, not too thin, getting it on all those dents nicely. A little bit more paint, and then once it's slapped, slappy slap, it doesn't really matter what direction or anything you're going in. And I'm stopping at these little ridges here because you have to do the ridges with the brush. Then I'm getting my finishing brush, and I'm just, like I say, just dragging with zero pressure, like so. So absolutely no pressure, overlapping the strokes. Might be best to start there maybe. And just literally, absolutely light as anything, dragging the brush over. And it should then blend, ooh you bleeder, in with the other bit. Right, I'm going to stop filming for a minute and get this with a bit of the roof painted, and we'll see what the finished product looks like. I'll be honest with you, this is a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. So the roof is done. That is coat number 1. It is patchy. I experimented with thinning it down with a bit of thinners, and I figured out that the kind of conclusion I came to is it doesn't actually need thinning that much. And then I've painted a bit of the side and a bit of the door. It certainly looks better in this video than it is, but I'm quite happy with it. There's areas where it's gone on a bit thinner, but obviously this is coat number 1. But yeah, so far I'm quite happy, and I think it's going to look pretty swish when it's all done. Well, I think I am done for the day, and I'm going to carry on the rest tomorrow. It's certainly a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. The good thing is this is only coat number 1, and the whole thing is going to be flatted, and then the top coat is going to be put on. And then even when the top coat's put on, I can then flat it again to flat out any imperfections and polish it to whatever standard I want it polishing to.
I'll be completely honest, I was pretty much just blagging it at this point. I think the key is the finishing brush. The finishing brush really is important, just to sort of get rid of any imperfections and sort of level all the paint out. It doesn't really matter how you put the paint on, whether you roller it or you just do a brush application in lots of different directions. But yeah, the key really is, however you apply it, you must go over it with the finishing brush.
And just like that, the Range Rover is green. And I'll be honest with you, I'm actually quite happy with it. Bearing in mind this is coat number 1, so once this is all dry, it needs to be flatted, and then coat number 2 needs to be applied. But yeah, overall, I am really happy with it. It's covered relatively well. I've ended up not thinning it at all. I put it on as it was. What I have done is I did actually soak it, the whole tin, in some hot water, just for sort of 10 minutes to warm the paint up a little bit. And then I've given in with the roller, and this has all been brushed on with one brush to apply it, and then the wider, thinner finishing brush to sort of smooth it out. And yes, you can see brush strokes in places. I've not done the door shuts yet, that's going to be a later day. Yes, you can see brush strokes. Yes, there is a little bit of dust in the paint in places, but once I've flattered it, I think it's going to look all right. You know, once I've got coat number 2 on it and it's flattered, I think it's going to look all right. And I will just reiterate, I'm not trying to make a mint Range Rover. I'm trying to make a tidy Range Rover that I can use. So I will now see you in about 24 hours time when I begin the flatting down process ready for coat number 2. 24 hours in YouTube time is probably around 2 seconds. 24 hours has now passed, so let the flatting begin. I should have just sprayed it. I actually should have just sprayed it. Now, I wanted to use this coach paint as a bit of a challenge. It's a bit of a, can I paint this Range Rover with this coach paint? And I can, and I am, and I have. Well, nearly. But it's just hard work. And I think spraying it would have been much easier. But I've nearly done it now, so let's carry on. And here we are, 2 weeks later, and we have the finished, well, the nearly finished product. Overall, I'm really, really happy with how the Range Rover looks. It's the colour I wanted, it looks exactly as I wanted, but the paint isn't perfect. Now, when I set about deciding to paint this with enamel paint and a paintbrush, I knew the end result wasn't going to be perfect, and that is why I decided to do it. I just wanted to change the colour of the Range Rover, make it look just as I wanted it to look, and use it and drive it. And I'll be honest with you, the paint doesn't look bad. Obviously, in the video, the paint probably looks a lot better than it does in real life. But it's not until you get really close, I apologise because it is a bit dirty, but it's not until you get really close that you can kind of see a bit of texture and some kind of brush strokes in the paint. However, I have not flatted the final coat down yet, and I have not machine polished the paint back up. And to be honest, I don't actually know if I will, because I love the look of it. I love the fact it's not perfect. I don't mind the dents. It's already had a couple of scuffs, but it just looks exactly as I wanted it to look. So my advice, if you're thinking of enamel brush painting a classic Range Rover, is don't do it. I am kind of joking when I say don't do it. I thoroughly enjoyed painting this. I am happy with the end result. I can make the paint finish better with a bit more time and effort, but I would personally say that coach painting classic vehicles is probably more suited to things like, you know, vintage 1930s cars, or maybe a Land Rover at a push. But things like a Range Rover, which you kind of want to look nicer, spraying is probably the way forward. But I hope you've enjoyed my video, and keep your eyes out for another video where I'm going to do a more general video about this classic Range Rover and more of a tour of the vehicle itself. Take it easy.